Jesus Christ! NASCAR has dropped the absolute god-dang hammer on the number 14 team of Stewart-Haas Racing and Chase Briscoe. This just breaking in. News. The number 14 team has been issued an L3 level penalty for counterfeiting a next-gen part. The penalty is a loss of 120 driver and owner points, 25 NASCAR playoff points, a 6-race crew chief suspension, and a $250,000 fine. Well, to say this the least, well, it's a bad week to be a Chase. And based on what the news is, the falsified part was an underwing duct. And you want to know the worst part about all of this for Chase Briscoe and co? Well, maybe the fact that they ran 20th. That's where they finished. They finished 20th position, ran 30th for much of the night, and the cheating didn't do anything whatsoever. If anything, it probably made the car slower knowing how they've been running. So, man, that is awful. And when you look at what this does now for Briscoe, he went from being 4 points, only 4, out of the playoffs to 124 back, behind guys like Elliott and Harrison Burton and Ryan Preece. They are now in one fell swoop being put into a must-win scenario. And this also is probably one of, if not the biggest penalties in NASCAR history as well. I mean, when you see just how many points have been taken away, just how big the fine is, how long crew chief Johnny Klossmeyer is going to be out for, this is insane to see. And this penalty, as Jordan Bianchi says, was a result of a counterfeit part being found on Briscoe's car, discovered in the R&D center. So you have to think, what is this going to lead to moving forward? Because this team was mid before this all came out. They are in a must-win situation right now, as they were right on the cut line. Maybe not in a must-win situation at the moment before the penalty, but definitely are now. And when you look at Briscoe, like maybe the last season or so, well, it's not exactly the greatest showing leading up to the playoffs or just in general in his Cup career. Looking at last season as a bit of a gateway into what we could see this year, from Gateway through Daytona, the best finish this team had was 13th at Sonoma. And counting it up right now, they only had 5 finishes in the top 15 and the top 20. Multiple finishes of theirs were below 20th position, and also on top of that, they had many sub 30th place finishes in this time. Nashville and Daytona, I guess it would actually be that, but it shows that this team is not consistent whatsoever. Now, when you look at how they've been doing so far this year, they have been a bit better, but with the head cut off of their crew chief here, basically with this penalty, are they really going to perform the same way they would as before? I mean, when you look at the tracks they did well at, they had a good stretch of races with Bristol Dirt, Martinsville, and Talladega being top 5s. But outside of that, they've had only one other top 10 on the season, and including that top 10, only 4 top 20s on the season outside that 3-race stretch. What this shows is that this team in no way is prepared for a penalty like this, and unlike a Hendrick Motorsports or a superpower like them, they are not going to be able to recover as quickly as any other team really would. Stewart-Haas Racing already has been pretty bad for superpower teams so far this year, that it's not really gonna even out as the year goes on. Now, Bob Pockrass had tweeted out that Stewart-Haas Racing's Greg Zipadelli had responded to the penalty, saying, "We had a quality control lapse, and a part that never should have been on a car going to the racetrack ended up on the number 14 car at Charlotte. We accept NASCAR's decision and will not appeal." That is terrible, because not only do you acknowledge in not appealing that you know you're going to lose, but you also acknowledge the fact that it was on the team itself. And that in and of itself should be pretty damning for Stewart-Haas Racing. I wouldn't expect them, honestly, to try and appeal, as NASCAR in a lot of the rules changes has kind of curbed the game towards them. But yeah, that's rough. Now, important enough to note in all of this, though, is that because of the point standings rule, where people don't have to be in the top 30 to make the playoffs anymore, they just got to run the full schedule, a win will be the saving grace for this team if they are so fortunate to get one in the time leading up before the start of the playoffs. This is something that will probably need to be used every week, as there is no way with how they've been running they're going to make this up. So I would expect the 14 team to just be throwing haymakers strategy-wise, trying to get up towards the front. Even if it's stupid, I expect them to stay out on pit stops when everyone takes 4 tires, for them to try and stretch every fuel run. This team at this point has completely changed the paradigm of how they're going to be racing in the 2023 season. There's no reason they should be conservative in any way in any race at this point forward, and the rest of the season, winning and getting in the playoffs or not winning and not getting in the playoffs, every race this season at this point forward should be must win for this team. And what that really compares to with a lot of other penalties is crazy. It's amazing how much more money they've been fined than other teams. It's amazing how many points NASCAR has made the standard for these. And at this point moving forward, I think all teams need to be put on notice that anything they do will get a tactical nuke strike from NASCAR about it. And at this point, yeah, this is going to send ripples. So for you Ford and SHR fans, and especially you Briscoe fans, I feel bad for you, because it's going to suck from this point forward, and it's going to be a whole lot more difficult for your driver, your team, and your manufacturer to succeed. But with that, I'm going to pass this all over to you and ask, how shocked were you to hear about this? Because we had a little bit of warning from the Couch Racer account, but I don't think anyone expected a team that, honest to God, sucked in this last race to be caught with such a big penalty. So let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And for more info on this, be sure to watch the NASCAR Weekly Podcast tonight on Danny B Talks channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm sure it's going to be a crazy show, as it's not been a good week to be a Chase. So until then, have a good one.